Well, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles could be involved in getting a trade done.
We better do it. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So, a few things to definitely talk about going into this week. We're in week 5 now officially, and I kind of want to talk about one rumor that has come up. And I understand, you have the trade deadline. The Eagles are definitely buyers here, whether it's on the offensive side or defensive side of the ball. Okay, now there has been some rumors swirling about Chase Claypool from the Chicago Bears. It's from Matt Lombardo from NFL. It says, according to NFC East Scout, the Eagles are among the teams that could view Bears wide receiver Chase Claypool as a quality backup or depth piece. Said, with Quez Watkins and Britton Covey getting banged up recently, could we see the Eagles take a shot on a player desperate need of a career resurgence? And that's what Chase Claypool is. I mean, as a Steeler, he was great, especially against us. He's done a number on us over some years. But with Chase Claypool in general, he has dealt with injuries, hasn't really been the same player. And this is a depth piece, obviously. Going to the second half of that Washington game, Britton Covey got some snaps. Quez Watkins is dealing with a hamstring injury. He's already out his second game. I'm very disappointed in Quez Watkins. I know he can't control the injury. I understand that. But now you don't really have much depth at wide receiver, okay? Originally you only had 4 receivers going to the active roster. So now losing Quez Watkins, Zaccheaus is looking like he's taking his job right now. I would have to say that Zaccheaus not only can catch the ball when opportunity does arise when his number is called, but can block downfield. That A.J. Brown touchdown on the left sideline that went into the end zone, he had some good blocks. Him and Devontae Smith, especially Zaccheaus, did a fantastic job going down, making some blocks. So there's a lot of value and a lot of production, even if the football isn't in Zaccheaus' hands. So getting Chase Claypool wouldn't be a bad thing. Maybe this would be a team he can come to and be a depth guy strictly, and he would be cheap. And I think you could take advantage of this situation. Now, we all know the Bears are, the worst team in football right now. Besides the Giants, I don't know which team is really worse. So it should be interesting going down the line. But with the Chicago Bears, we have to take advantage of a bad team that they have right now. They spent a lot of money on in free agency and some players that they brought in. As Chase Claypool was signed with the Bears, would maybe change the wide receiver core a little bit, but he has not done much of anything, and he definitely needs to revive his career of some case. And if it's with the Eagles, since he's really probably not going to have much playing time, but he's going to have opportunity to play if he does get signed here. Zaccheaus, God knows if Zaccheaus needs a break or, Chase Claypool has to go in, but gives you a nice threat on the inside. And see if the Eagles actually have legit interest here. I think, usually when you hear about something too much, sometimes it doesn't happen. Usually the names that you don't hear out of certain trades that could happen, which I'm surprised that they're going after somebody offensively more than somebody on the defense. But I don't think it matters. I think the Eagles are always active during this time. The trade deadline ends around week 9 of the season, and I think the Eagles are definitely going to add here. I don't know if it's going to be 2 players, but it could be for maybe one side of the field. Maybe you get somebody on the offense. I think you need the receiver depth, and maybe you get that hybrid safety / corner or somebody that has one more year left on his deal. Because I feel like the Eagles are going to trade for somebody defensively that has that's going to be a rental for the year, most likely. Usually during the trade deadline, usually during these times, teams are trying to fleece other teams for players and draft picks and all of that stuff. The Eagles are smarter than that. Howie Roseman is smarter than that. And, this isn't a bad move. Is it an upgrade? It's an upgrade because it's an empty spot that we really need. And I don't think Britton Covey is ready to be a slot receiver. I don't think he's got, he came in the second half, a couple plays, did some blocking, wasn't great. I think it was in overtime he got in, or maybe the late fourth quarter. I forgot a couple plays he was in there on some blocking assignments, but it's just not good enough. And the Eagles feel like they need something there. They need a 4th receiver. They're not bringing Devin Allen up to the active roster, so they're not going to do that. So I'm guessing they have interest in bringing a depth guy. going forward, I don't know what other receivers are really out there right now. Julio Jones, maybe, if they have interest in him, if he could stay healthy, would be nice. So it comes down to health, and these guys are, available maybe per trade because, they're not playing well. They're not doing well, and, they're dealing with injuries and haven't been great off the injury list. So with Chase Claypool, could be a playmaker for the Eagles on the inside and maybe kind of revive himself a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Anything is possible, but I won't make any promise on it until it actually happens. But nice the Eagles are staying busy. This roster gets evaluated every week, whether it's injury, whether it's, there's just not enough at a certain position. So we'll see what happens with Chase Claypool. But I wouldn't mind the move, and we'll see what happens. Secondly, we got to go over we have to go over the Sean Desai Eagles defense. I understand that it's like a copycat of Vic Fangio, and teams have figured out this defense and allowing all the underneath stuff, not giving up the big play. I swear to God, guys, okay? I swear to God that I was just bored last night, and I looked at I was looking at NFL highlights from this past week. I just want to look at highlights of every defense in the NFL, just every defense and how it looked, and if other teams actually play off the ball as much as the Philadelphia Eagles. And I got to tell you, unless it's prevent, unless it's third and like 20, third and 17, or it's something where you're playing off the ball for a specific reason, end of the fourth quarter, don't want to give up the big play, like normally when you really play off the ball, or maybe you're playing Tyreek Hill, and I understand with him, you're going to have to, maybe have the guy that's on him a little bit off the ball because you don't want to give up that easy play. So that's understandable. I did not see any of these teams playing off the ball that much like the Eagles. Nobody. I don't know why they do it. I don't get like what we made Washington look. And Washington is a competitive team. I'll say this, okay. And Sam Howell played a really good game, but we made them look a lot better than they looked in that game. Sam Howell had 11 incompletions. 11. Okay, that's just insane. I mean, seriously, like. I know people are going to pick apart Slay. They're going to pick apart all these corners, and I hate Josh Jobe. I don't like him. I don't think he's consistent. I think he's a nice backup for, maybe a game or two, but as a throughout the year type of starter, the Eagles need to make a move there. But the scheme is not helping any of these guys. It's not. I mean, to tap these tight ends and wide receivers, if you somewhat make it look like you're playing press, and then they go behind the defense, make big plays. Not even just that, but yeah, you're giving big chunk yards underneath. I'm not saying you got to play press every single time, but way too much zone. You know what I mean? You're putting more pressure on your offense. You're putting more pressure on the front four. It's not fair to those guys up front. How are you supposed to generate a pass rush when they're 5 to 8 yards, sometimes 10 yards off the ball? How are you supposed to generate that? We had the highest sacks last game, 5 sacks for this team. Okay, usually it's 1 to 2 sacks mostly the past few weeks, but last week or this past game against Washington, we had 5 sacks, which is good. Okay, the sack numbers definitely can go up a lot more. I feel like if you just even if you're 4 to 5 yards off the line, I'll be happy with that at least. At least, get your hands on early. Just a little early, a little push, a little just get them off the route, kind of, just mess them up a little bit on the route they're running, or just be a little, just get your hands on a little bit. That's all I'm really asking. And when they don't do that, 5 to 8 yards, these tight ends and wide receivers are free. And I don't know if it's because of the linebackers, because the guys can't cover. I don't know what's the reason behind it. If it's really just giving up the big play, then Jesus, man. Look at what you have up front with your defensive line. You got to make sacrifices. If you have a good defensive line, okay, you have to make sacrifices. It's not like we have horrible outside corners. We have 2 very good outside corners. The only weakness we really have is, because we were down 2 safeties with Justin Evans being out and Sidney Brown being out. Yeah, I don't like Terrell Edmonds at all. I think he's horrible. And Josh Jobe, I don't think should start the whole entire year as a backup. Take over for a game or 2, I'm fine with, but I don't think he's consistent. And, he was the reason why we got into overtime. Obviously, there's other reasons, and we could blame other things that happen offensively or defensively, but You can't even trust a guy on one-on-one coverage standing in the back of the end zone. You can't even trust a guy standing in the back of the end zone, standing still, and like 1 second left, and Washington brings the game to overtime. It's shitty. It's horrible. It's they need to make a change there. But I've watched other defenses, and I don't see what these other teams are doing defensively. Like, look, I watched Seattle and the Giants last night. Seattle was playing aggressive. Like, I'm not saying they got a blitz, because people are going to complain in the comments section. No, you just want to see them blitz every play. No, I didn't think they blitzed enough last game, but at least they are blitzing, so that's good. But if they're at least 4 to 5 yards, off coverage, I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. I think that's fair. But 8 to 10 yards, it's not good, man. You're just giving up big chunk plays. You have a defensive line. Like, all you need is like not even another couple seconds, and you're getting pressure on QBs, and because Sam Howell and other quarterbacks down the road are going to be this quick pass. We're not even going to have time. The pass rush, we get pressure almost every play, mostly. I mean, there's a couple plays where it takes us, maybe. It's very rare that, no one's getting through. There's always somebody going through. Every time we blitz with Nicholas Morrow or somebody fit between those gaps when either Jordan Davis or somebody, Jalen Carter's taking on those double teams. And, those linebacker fits are so good. I just, running the stunts, I think, have really benefited the Eagles too when they do it. And they really, I don't think they do it that much. I think they blitz more than they really stunt at times, but I really do like that as well. So I don't know what Sean Desai's doing, but we're going to find out the next couple weeks what happens. Just think about it. We face the Rams, not a great team. We face the Jets. The Jets game is where I'm going to really look at this defense, because if Zach Wilson has over 300 yards and 10 incompletions, I'm telling you, it's going to be really ugly. Even if we win the game, even if we win the damn game, okay? Zach, I'm telling you, if the best team that Zach Wilson plays against is the Eagles this year, and that game goes to overtime or some stupid crap where it comes down to the wire, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. And I'm going to blame Sean Desai 100%. It's that, like, these players are told what to do. You don't set your players up to fail. You don't put your defense in a position to, you want to put them in the position to win football games, but if you're setting certain position groups to fail and you don't mean to do it, but I don't know what this defense is. We want to be violent, we want to be felt, what it signifies to be a Philadelphia Eagle in this city, and he talks about all this crap during this press conference, and I almost believed him, and I felt like I was believing him, but I said to myself all offseason on video a million times, I got to see what this looks like on the field. I think Tampa Bay, that game was the perfect game that we played. But when you all you had to worry about was really Mike Evans. Really, who else did you really have to worry about in that offense for Tampa Bay? And Mike Evans isn't, like, he's good, but he's a good receiver, but he's nothing that's going to be like a big threat going downfield and, burning our whole defense. Or, you dealt with Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, you know what I mean? Like Jahan Dotson, Pringle. I mean, they got speed, man, and you gave up a lot of yards, and that game went to overtime because of it. It's a shame, dude, but they got to do more, and I hope they do. Now, Dallas Goedert, interesting enough, and I think with Dallas Goedert, they're not getting the ball to him enough. And I don't even have to read the statistics, really. I don't have to read the statistics. He hasn't played that well, and they're just not getting him involved. I think in the Washington game, they got him involved on a catch, and then later on, that tight window throw that Jalen Hurts had to Dallas Goedert. The tight ends have got to be involved. Why do you have 4 tight ends on this roster? You add Albert. You traded for Albert O. You got Jack Stahl. You got Grant Calcaterra. You're barely using any of them. I mean, you don't even run double tight end sets. And that was like our bread and butter too. Like, double tight end sets, like, is our bread and butter too. It was last year. I know this is a different year, new coordinator. I get it 100%. But I mean, Dallas Goedert, I had the Dallas Goedert maybe getting close to 800 yards this year, something like that. But he's barely getting opportunity. I know he's definitely frustrated, because I've definitely let's be real. From week 1 to week 3, Jalen Hurts has missed him on occasions wide open. He did on a few plays throughout the 3 games that we played earlier. It kind of pissed me off. You'd rather take the deep shot to A.J. Brown in double coverage than throw it to Dallas Goedert that's sitting right there in open space, nobody around him, where he could probably get inside the 5, get tackled, or maybe get a touchdown, because on physicality, he can get those extra yards and break in. So I think it's not just Goddard. It's a lot of players. I think wide receiver 3s need to be more involved. You can only give it to so many players throughout one game. I get it. Some games, either A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith is going to have a good game. Sometimes you need both of those guys. I felt for the Washington game, we kind of need both our number 1 receivers and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown to be involved. But the tight ends have got to be involved. There's no hot route. There's no slant. There's no working middle of the field. That's the big problem. I feel like middle of the field's wide open at times, and they don't take advantage of it. They'd rather just throw the ball deep, or that's inside zone, or I understand we got to run the ball too. I get it, but you got to get more guys involved. Dallas Goedert is just wasted right now. I don't know how many yards he's got. I don't even know, but it's I just think there's got to be more work here. And now we have the injury report on Cam Jurgens that ended up getting hurt, and it looked, because he was in a boot after the Washington game, it looks like it is a foot sprain, so he will miss a few weeks, okay? Now, I'm not going to make a big deal about this. We know that Jeff Stoutland has his offensive line prepared if injuries do occur. I don't think tylersteen is starting at right guard just because he's too raw right now. It's his first year, and, probably just not ready. I think once, another offseason under his belt, he'll look more ready. He'll get more involved in, once we change the offseason program, get more involved in the preseason games and the joint practices and all that great stuff. It looks like Sua Opeta will be the starting right guard, most likely. He went in for Jurgens during the game last week, and I think is perfectly fine. Sua Opeta is a very good player, very serviceable, he did well against that front. He didn't, if I'm not saying his name, and if you're looking at the offensive line, if I'm not saying his name, and I'm not mentioning anybody's name, and I'm sitting back and barely even recognizing that somebody's getting pushed apart, because realistically, I think, Landon Dickerson had issues with penalties. I know that Jordan Mailata had an issue with Chase Young for a couple times in the game. So I think Sua Opeta is perfectly fine, can play both guard spots. You got to know something about Jeff Stoutland's offensive line room, okay? If you're going to play in Jeff Stoutland's offensive line, okay, you're either a pure starter at one position, and if you're not a starter at one position, and you're coming into the Eagles, into his room, you have to know 2 positions, but not only just being able to play 2 positions, just playing, not playing them well. To know both positions well is definitely a bigger value. And I think Sua Opeta is, very, like I said, very serviceable. I have no issue with it. Cam Jurgens being out for a few weeks isn't going to really, I don't think it's going to hurt us as much as everyone thinks it's going to. Have faith in Jeff Stoutland and what he's doing this week. I have no issue with it. The Eagles are going to move on and fight on, and that's all that matters. So, other than that, that's pretty much it. We talked about Chase Claypool, Sean Desai's defense. What would you do? What are they doing wrong? Is it pissing you off? I mean, it probably is for everybody. Trust me. I've watched every NFL team around the league, just highlights. I don't need to watch full games. I'm watching highlights of just, in general, are they playing off? Are some teams playing off ball? Obviously, there's certain situations where you're going to be playing off the ball, like I said earlier in the video. But every single play, too much zone. You're not getting much out of your pass rush. Don't waste your money. Don't draft DTs in the first round if this is what you're going to do at your secondary. It's a waste. It's a total waste of time. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. You guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up? Follow us. Peace out, guys. Peace.